Welcome. Thank you everybody so much for being here. I'm Becca Zirkin. I'm one of the directors of Neighbors on Call, and we're really glad that you're here tonight. We really appreciate that you're taking time out to learn about what Neighbors on Call does. There we go. I'm one of the directors. Our other director is Susan Blunt. She is not able to be here tonight. You're going to meet some of our other leaders shortly. You'll certainly meet Susan when you come to another event another time. And if you wouldn't mind, we'd love to know who all of you are. So please introduce yourself in the chat, your name, where you live. We'd love to know what brought you to the meeting tonight. I know we have some candidates in the audience, so please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Tell us about your race. Our presentation tonight, it's about 15 minutes, and then we're going to have a lot of time for questions at the end, so we probably won't really go till 7:45, although we're happy to stay on till 7:45 if you have that many questions. So Neighbors on Call is or we call ourselves NoC. We're an all-volunteer organization, and we have a very narrow focus, and we'd really love your help, which is why we're so pleased that you're here tonight. We have a very strategic focus. It is electing Democrats to the North Carolina state legislature. And we only work in the most competitive state legislative races, the ones that are going to be won or lost by just a small number of votes, because that's where we can have the biggest impact. We work directly with candidates and we canvass. So that means talking directly to voters, because that's what the research shows is the most valuable thing to do, that the more personal the interaction there is between the campaign and a potential voter, the more it raises a person's chance of voting. And canvassing is absolutely the most effective use of our volunteer time, more than phone banking and more than postcarding. So that's why we do it. We are very organized and we have fun on purpose because we really want to stick this out for the long haul. So we need to make it a great place to be. So we host Zoom events about once a month where you can learn more about our candidates and their districts. And we have in-person events where you can meet other folks, which is so important for building community. And you can meet the candidates, and they are just so grateful for your time and wonderful to get to know. And we will be having some spring happy hours, so you can look out for those events. So that's a good place to meet folks in person. Just the technical stuff is that NoC is registered as a PAC, and the reason is that that allows us to coordinate with the Democratic Party, and you usually think of a PAC being for fundraising, but that's not what we do. What we do is volunteer raising. We're recruiting volunteers, and our group is divided in 2 chapters based on where you live. Each chapter has leaders who are dedicated to staying in touch with their members, and we do that so that you have 1 or 2 main contacts at Neighbors on Call. But obviously, you're welcome to contact any of us anytime. We've grown up quite a bit over the last 7 years since we got started right after the election in 2016. And we now have about 4,500 subscribers who are getting our email, and we have about 400 canvassers. For the 2022 election, we knocked about 30,000 doors, and we are off to a great start this year already. We've participated in 3 canvasses, and 124 people turned out for those canvases. One of them had 72 people. It was really amazing. And it includes some folks who are on this Zoom, and we really, really appreciate that. We know some of you canvassed for the first time in the last few weeks. So we just want to tell you what we're trying to accomplish this year and how we do it. So our goal is to break the Republican supermajority in the state legislature. And the reason that that's so important is that when the Republicans have a supermajority in both chambers of the legislature, so they have 2/3 of the members, they can override the governor's veto. And that gives them total control over which bills become law in our state and how our taxpayer dollars are spent. So in 2018, Neighbors on Call joined a lot of other groups to elect enough Democrats that we broke the supermajority that we had before that. And that gave the veto power back to the Democratic governor, Roy Cooper, meaning he could block all these bad bills, which he did for many years. And then last year, after being elected as a Democrat, State House member Tricia Cotham, I'm sure you've heard of her, switched to the Republican Party not very long after she took office. And that gave Republicans a supermajority back in both chambers. And right after she did that, the Republicans passed their terrible abortion restrictions and looser gun laws and private school vouchers that are going to drain $500 million taxpayer dollars away from our public schools over the next decade. And Governor Cooper can't do anything to stop that. So Republicans currently hold a supermajority by just one seat in each chamber. And so in the 2024 election, even with our new maps that we have now, this year, we absolutely can break the supermajority, and that is our number one priority. So I'm now going to pass it to Susan Lindsay. She's our voter outreach manager, and she's going to talk about what it will take to break the supermajority. Susan, passing it to you. You're muted.
Okay. Thank you very much, Becca. I'm going to tell you where we stand today. In the Senate, there are 6 competitive races, depending on who you ask. Democrats need to win 4 of them to break the supermajority. In the House, there are 10 competitive races, again, depending on who you ask. And Democrats need to win 4 of the 10 to break the supermajority in that chamber. We are really, really lucky because we have a great opportunity. 2 of these Senate races and 3 of these House races are in or near the triangle, which is where our volunteer base is. So each of us has a power to make a big impact, and the state needs us. If you're on this call and you don't live close to the triangle area, let's talk at the end of the meeting about competitive races that are closer to you. I'll tell you more about these candidates in a few minutes, but first, it's also crucial this year to elect a Democratic governor to preserve the power of the veto, to elect a Democrat to the open seat in the state Supreme Court, and to win some other important statewide offices. So, if there's so many important races on the ballot this year, why is NoC laser focused on the North Carolina General Assembly? The answer is simple, because that's where we can have the most impact. Focusing on down ballot races helps to carry the candidates at the top too, but the reverse is not true. Just focusing on the top of the ticket doesn't necessarily mean that votes will trickle down to the candidates at the bottom of the ballot. Many voters don't complete the whole ballot, and especially if they haven't heard of those down ballot candidates. So when we make sure our legislative candidates get name recognition, we are lifting the governor and judicial races at the top of the ticket at the same time. And this is how our relatively small group of volunteers targeting a specific set of voters in legislative races that will be won by a very small number of votes can impact the future of the entire state. We can break the supermajority again this year, and it's the first step in building a majority by 2030 so that we can have fairer election maps drawn. If you live in a solid blue district, you may be thinking that you're also going to have to work in your home precinct to turn out votes for the statewide races. We agree. We'll all have to do both. I live in a solid blue area, and I will do whatever my precinct chair asks to drive up the margins for the governor, the Supreme Court, and those other important races. But I'll be canvassing with NoC as much as I can because that's the only way I can help break the supermajority. So now let me tell you about those 2 Senate races and 3 House races. In 2024, Neighbors on Call is focusing on 5 state legislative candidates who are key to breaking the supermajority. Some are in seats we must protect, and some in seats we must flip. Where the House and Senate districts overlap, the candidates are collaborating so that we can canvass for 2 at one time. 3 of these races are in northern Wake County and neighboring Granville County. Terrence Everett, who currently serves in the State House, is running for Senate District 18, which covers the northern part of Wake County and all of Granville County. This is a Democratic seat that we need to hold. It overlaps with 2 state House districts. In northern Wake, it overlaps House District 35, where Yvonne Hopkins is running for the seat that Terrence Everett currently holds. And in Granville County, it overlaps with House District 32, which is currently held by a Republican. But this is what the most flippable House seat in the state. Brian Kahn, a city commissioner in Oxford, is running for this seat. The other two districts we're working in are in southern Wake County. Senate District 13 covers the southern end of Wake. This area is currently represented by Democrat Sidney Batch in Senate District 17, but due to some crazy map making, Sidney's district has shifted, and most of her old territory will be in this new version of Senate District 13. Senator Lisa Grafstein represents the current District 13 in another part of Wake. And as soon as the new maps were released, she moved her personal residence so that she could continue to serve. That means she has all new voters who need to get to know her. This is a seat we must hold. House District 37 overlaps with Senate District 13, and it is currently held by Republican Erin Perret. She really needs to go. And we can flip it. Sophia Jackson is running for this seat. Now I'm going to pass it over to Patty Courtwright, one of our Know North chapter leaders, to talk about what we at Neighbors on Call are going to do to help these candidates win.
Okay, thank you. So here's how we can help them win. We know everybody's volunteer time is valuable, so we really need to do what is the most impactful, and that's canvassing, just like Becca said earlier. The research shows that the more personal interaction there is between the campaign and a potential voter, the more it raises a person's chance of voting. It's the absolutely most effective use of your time, more than phone banking, and definitely more than postcarding. Some of us love canvassing. Some of us do it because we know it's what works, even if it's outside our comfort zone. Personally, I dreaded it at first. Then after I knocked a few doors, I didn't mind it. And now I actually enjoy it. It's just like talking to friends. But the bottom line is that we've taken the plunge because the stakes are too high not to do the thing that makes a difference. So our job as canvassers is simple. Our job is to leave a friendly and positive impression. We don't have to be experts, either about the issues or the candidates. We're not trying to persuade people on the issues. The voters we talk to are specially selected by the campaigns. Most often they are left-leaning voters, either Democrats or unaffiliated, who don't vote regularly, and that's a tremendously important group for us to reach. So we're there to turn out our voters, not to persuade a voter to change their mind on the issues. It's okay to be nervous about talking to voters. We get it. We've all been there, and NoC offers a lot of support. So first of all, the campaign will always provide a script with key questions to ask, a brief training if you need it, and a targeted voter contact list. And you get to meet the candidates at the canvases before we head out. You definitely aren't expected to know every single thing about our candidates. It's all about increasing name recognition with a smile. A NoC point person will be at every event to support you, and you'll always canvass with a partner. If you like, you can sign up as a silent canvasser, and that means you'll canvass with a mentor, excuse me, who can do all the talking at the door while you record the data. So here are the next steps. First of all, please join us for one of the upcoming canvasses organized by our candidates in Wake and Granville counties. In Fuquay-Varina with Senator Lisa Grafstein and Sophia Jackson on March 9th and April 6th. In Wake Forest with Representative Terrence Everett and Yvonne Hopkins on March 17th and April 28th. And in Granville County with Representative Terrence Everett and Brian Kahn on April 13th. We're not sure which town yet, but we'll have more information to share with you about that. So remember, you can sign up as a silent canvasser if you'd like, and we'll be happy to match you with a mentor who will do all the talking. And then on March 23rd, we hope you'll join us for a special day of action with the Wilson County Dems and County to County to help Dante Pittman flip House District 24. There'll be an option to carpool, and we're going to have barbecue at Parker's afterwards. So if you've never been to Parker's Barbecue, it's a treat. This should be a fun field trip. On Wednesday, March 27th, we're going to learn more about Granville County at a Zoom event. We'll find out about the towns, how the county is changing, and where the best bakery is. We have a great panel lined up. This meeting is co-hosted by the Granville County Dems. So you can sign up for all of these events at neighborsoncall.org, and we'll send you the links in a follow-up email tomorrow. So that was a lot about us. If you want us to go back to anything we mentioned, or if you have questions about anything, we'll do our best to answer them for you. And if you need to sign off at any time, we certainly understand, and we really appreciate your coming. So now I'm going to pass it back to you, Becca, to take us from here.
Thank you very much, Susan and Patty.